Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all that can hear my voice and perhaps see my face. Kayuk, shalom. How are you? Peace. But anyway, that's from a dear sister that has really blessed my heart with some great truth. But anyway, we're looking at the law. And believe it or not, this would be the whole series that we would go down, and all these videos would deal with the law. And once we get through with the law, the videos will be on the prophets, because we look at the things that we're looking at the word of God, mostly that was spoken through the law and the prophets. Now we know David was a prophet. You have all the other prophets that were mentioned in the Bible and that have mentioned what they heard from the Most High. Now, today we're dealing with Exodus. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. And I read it, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Some say the earth, some translations say the earth or whatever. It's the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee. He's talking about thy father and thy mother. If you notice, a lot of times in commercials and thinking about old folks homes, it's more or less they're looking toward women. But in more ancient societies, they look toward the father more, and the families are together more, and the father is more structured. But by design, here in the United States and different other lands, they're more matriarchal. We have to realize that life comes from the father, not only spiritually, but physically, because the sperm is constantly alive inside men, unless he has a prostrate problem. The prostrate, from what I have studied, basically feeds the sperm. And a man can die from his own prostrate. See, this is where the life is given to these sperm. The sperm are living. You're actually feeding babies. Men carry babies. We carry babies in us. I mean, it might sound a little far-fetched, but if you do your research, you'll find out that I'm pretty near correct. So, honor thy father and thy mother. The mother is a nurturer. Her body receives from the father. Same thing with the earth, the same thing as the church, the same thing as those that believe the Most High. We receive from the Father. What do we give back? Praise, nurture, admonition. We're supposed to nurture the earth. We're supposed to subdue the earth. We're supposed not to kill everything, but to dress it, as he commanded Ada, or some of you might know him as Adam, which is really two words. It means Ada and Ama. You find out in a baby, da 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 come out their mouth, and then you find out mama comes out later. It's weird, but even a baby knows where it comes from unconsciously, until it grows and somebody told it something else or told us something else. But anyway, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. This is pre-colonization time, or because really, if you really read in the book, I believe it's Jubilees, Israel, when the Hamites, the Canaanites, Jebusites, Perizzites, all of them dwelt in the land of Canaan, it didn't belong to Ham. That land was unoccupied, but it was divided by Noah to his three sons, according to the book of Jubilees. Now, what had happened, a son of Ham decided he was going to occupy this land. that was not given to them. And therefore, the land that God, the Most High, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yeshua, whoever you call them, was actually giving that land back to Israel. He was actually giving it back and drawing them out. He was giving his land back, the land that God had put, the Most High had put in the heart of Noah what to do. But yet alone, if you follow the examples of the Bible, you'll see many of them honored their father and their mothers. There was no division, except for they knew family was strong. Leviticus 19, verses 2 and 3. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Clean. What is clean? Clean is honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For some, it's the earth. He's talking to those of Israel and those that have joined themselves to Israel. It's not a religion. It's not Catholicism, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, whatever denomination, because it's not even Islam, because all of it denominates from the whole. The whole is the book. That is the whole. Everything else is fractions. 1/4, 2/3, 3/5. But the whole is the book. Whenever you call yourself, have accepted the Messiah, you're not what they would call Christians of your own denomination. You become a part of Israel. You have joined yourself to Israel. You have not joined yourself to Baptists, Methodists, Pentecostals. You do what the Messiah had told you to do. Yet alone, you also have to do what the law tells you to do in light of the Messiah. Now, let's go to verse 3. Ye shall fear. This is how you are holy. This is one way we can be clean before the Most High. Ye shall fear, respect, not talk back. I don't care how old you are or how young you are. Ye shall fear every man his mother. Now see, it reverses it here. But in some translation, it goes father and mother. Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. There go our last law, the law that spoke on the Sabbaths. The Sabbath is very important. Shabbat is very important because he said, now, not only shall you fear your father and mother, or as this verse says, father and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. He adds, keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Keep my rest. Respect your mother. Respect your father. Not because you have gotten old. There is no excuse. There is no escape from this law. No escape. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 21, turn there, verses 18 through 22. Now we shall see. Now this is many in this land have in some ways more or less suffer this from a child, whether they be young or old. But this apparently was an older child or an adult that was living with his mother and father. It reads, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place, the door of his house. That's what Old English gate means. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, This is our son, stubborn and rebellious. Now we understand, we've all researched the scriptures, and we all understand that stubbornness is as the sin of witchcraft. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this is our son, stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton. He eats everything. He eats too much. He's a drunkard. He drinks. He's of age. He can drink. He's drinking much wine, getting drunk, and don't want to do what we tell him to do. We tell him to go out there and feed the cattle, feed the sheep, feed the goats. But he will not do it. It's all laid undone. He's lazy. We tell him to, just make up his bed. They didn't have the same mattresses we have today. And verse 21, all the men of his city shall stone him with stones that he die, so that thou wilt put evil away from among you and all Israel. And fear. All Israel shall hear and fear. In other words, all the children, all the young, all the elderly that still have a living mother or father shall fear to honor their mother and father. These are examples of that. You understand, the law is already put forth. People say, well, we are not no longer under the law. Well, then apparently Christ hadn't died for you. The Christ hasn't died. Mashiach hasn't died for you. Yahweh Shai hasn't died for you, because you say you are not under the law. But you're going to use his name to get the things that you want. These are those that he spoke of and said, these are going to be on the left. Say, depart from me, I know you not. Verse 22, and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree. Now, this here is saying that after he committed the sin, this man has committed treason against his own family. This man has committed treason. So what? See, you don't understand the way of the devil. The reason why you got so many single parent homes because of the enemy, whether he be the government or whether he be one that had risen up in his father or his mother to cause separation in the family. And then people still, regardless of where that father is or who that father had married before, he or she is still your father or your mother, regardless whether they're a present parent or a parent that is set apart. It says, honor your mother and your father, period. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 16. Cursed be he that setteth light by dishonoring his father and his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. Remember, I said, Amen. It has an I in it. When you say the other word, you're talking about an Egyptian god. There's a difference. Although they sound similar, the Hebrew word is Amen. So you're cursed if you set light by dishonoring, if you just don't pay it no mind, if you take it as a light thing, you're dishonoring your father or your mother. But you hear a lot of certain walks of life that says my mama, my mama, my mama. But then you got that very few, that child that might say, I love my daddy, I love my mama. Either way, separated or not separated. Now we got to realize we live in a land that you got evil and wickednesses going on, and some people do hate their mother and they'll stay with their father. Then you got those who are with their father, with their mother, and they hate their father for no reason at all. Now some, even if you did have a reason, you still would honor your father or your mother. You will not disrespect your father and mother regardless. It's not because they brought you into this world. Only one that blessed for them to bring you into this world was the Most High, regardless of whether your father or mother was uh, not married when you were conceived, or you were born an orphan. Both of them left you. Either way, honor your father and mother, and to even put to the extended father and mothers, your grandparents. We put that in there. Okay, let's go again. Proverbs 15, verse 20. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Have you ever heard some children just curse their mothers, even grown men? I've heard it. Oh, she's this, she's that. So what? She has her judgment before the Most High, but you don't be judged by him by your dishonoring her or him because of what they do. They're just like you. Some of you are so deep in sin or so deep in trying to find yourself that they might be saying this child is messed up. And your parents might not dislike you, but then you have most parents, they love you regardless, but they don't trust you. So why? Be wise. Honor your father and mother. They ask you to do something, do it. Whether you're 50 years old and they're in their 70s and 80s, or whether you're 5 years old and they're just in their 20s or teens, do it. Proverbs 30 and verse 11. There's a generation that curses their father and doth not bless their mother. Have you noticed that today? Oh, but the law is not for us today. You cannot see for looking. You have to take these things and let the law be frontlets before your eyes. You have to let it, meditate on the law day and night. In order to do that, you got to read it. Most people do not read. Have you ever really sat down and really read this law and understand what Yahweh is saying to you and me? He is saying, I love you. And because I love you, I want you to love me. And I want you to love each other because you love me. That's the law in general. But these are examples of the law. Examples of the law, because some people will try to find loopholes and everything. But this law not only applies to Israel, although there's a contractual agreement with Israel, it's also among the Gentiles. Have you understood some of the laws we have? Have the Japanese laws and other laws? Yeah, they have other laws they have concocted, so does this country. They have laws too. But all of them contain the 10 Commandments. Even the military law has a law against adultery. Yes, it does. There's a law, but they do not rarely enforce it unless it's just like he said, the Gentiles having not the law have a law unto themselves, else accusing or excusing one another. But Yahweh says there shall be one law. For everybody there is one law. So there is a generation that curseth their father. Why? Did your father make you mad? So? Did your mother make you mad? So? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay, I'm gonna take care of that as soon as I can. And you entreat. If you disagree with your mother and father, you don't fuss and argue and cuss them out. No. You dishonor them by doing that. You despise them because you think you are so-called right. And you know what? That resonates over into your faith into the Most High. If you are one that calls yourself to follow the Most High or join yourself to Israel to follow the Most High, then the fact is that you cannot dishonor your father or your mother. Period. Okay, let's go again. Micah. For the son dishonoreth the father, and the daughter rises up against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, And a man's enemy are the men of his own house. Whoa. Did not the Messiah say these things in the Gospels or the New Testament, so-called, or so to speak, they say? That's something else. For the son dishonored the father, and the daughter rises up against the mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemy are the men of his own house. When you have contention in your home because of some selfish child, some selfish offspring that does not honor, and then next thing you know, even the mother and father don't even really read the law, because when something happens to that child or that offspring, oh my baby, but think about it. You dishonor God when you dishonor your mother and your father, because your father represents God in your life. Your mother represents God in your life, because they are there to teach you and show you. Mother is a nurturer. She's the one that usually is there for you most of the time. The father is there usually after a certain period in time where you're weaned from the mother. And then you start really looking to the father. But children love their fathers anyway if their father's up there. Now, if your father is not there, you still don't dishonor him. You don't curse him. You just leave it alone. And if he asks something of you, you either accept it with respect or deny it or reject it with respect and hope he understands, because he is your father. And I'm talking about biological as well as extended or adopted. And I'm not talking about things of lewdness or unlawfulness, such as pedophilia or anything like that. No, 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 no. Don't get me wrong, because some people's minds will wander off. Should I do this? No, you need to read the law. You need to read the law. Stop going to these churches and in these assemblies, and they're telling you to wear, some are telling you to wear these clothes and all this other stuff. Stop, leave that alone. Read the law. If you read the law, you will understand what the Messiah was saying. You would understand what Saud was saying or Paul was saying. You would understand what Peter is saying. You have to sit down and read the law however you can, as many times as you can, even to the point of remembrance. There are people who memorize the prophets and all these other things, but these are the gnats of the law. These are not the camels. These are not what men see, because these things can only be obeyed from the heart. And they're exemplified when your father and mother have asked a request of you, or it would come to the point where if you disagree, you still do not be disagreeable. And cursing them and rejecting and being angry at them for no reason, because they're your father or your mother. 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2. What does it say? For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parent, unthankful, unholy. So this is really the catalyst for all things. If I hold sin in my heart, if I regard sin in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. Yahweh will not hear me. Because what? I'm selfish. All sin arises from selfishness. It's not that you're made to do it. It's for some reason you're thinking about me, me, and me. Because one thing about having the Holy Spirit, one fruit is self-control, according to the law. Now, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 20. Whoso curses his father, or his mother, his lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness. This is heavy. This is very heavy. This is heavy. Whoso curses his mother and father shall be put out his lamp shall be put out. Now, we talk about old folks' homes or, convalescent homes and all these things. If you have the money, that's good. But these things really should not exist. In all the tribal lands and lands, that are primitive, the mother and the father are kept at home. The children are loving, and the ones that are not doing nothing, they will take care of the mother and father. There's always a cohesion going on throughout the life, and the cycle keeps going. But in certain developed nations, we turn them over. The kids forsake their mother and their father, or their father and their mother, and throw them in a home, or either somebody has to come, or a neighbor or something, and grab these people and put them into a home so that they might be taken care of because they have been forsaken. And in some societies, they have to take in that neighbor or that old mother to help them because the children have forsaken them because of our own selfishness. They wasn't selfish with you when you were a baby. They wipe your diaper, they wipe your butt, and they clothed you, they fed you, they protected you, and that cycle runs on even from a baby to an elder. The cycle runs on. You have to feed them, you have to clothe them. Now we say, well, they got Social Security, they can go to the old folks' home, but look how they treated there. The people do not love them. Yes, in some instances, there are those who keep their mother and father, but the fact is that these mothers and fathers are abused, and it's very few, but more so in these corporate homes that have been erected because of the situation that at hand, because of selfish children forsaking their fathers and their mothers. And then the system have caused the father to have to be on his own. Either he's taken care of by children that are not his, and the mother is forsaken too. So you have to really look at this thing and say, well, uh, how do I raise my children? You have to raise your children in the love and admonition of Yahweh. You have to raise your children in the love and admonition of family. See, this is the way Israel, ancient Israel was. The family, then the tribe, from the tribe to the nation. You had the tribe of Judah, but within Judah, there was tribes, was what I'm talking about. Within Judah, there were tribes. And you had the tribe of Benjamin. Within Benjamin, there were different tribes or clans or however you want to talk. Then you go back to the Indian nations. You have the Cherokee, but within the Cherokee, they had different clans within the Cherokee tribe. Same Navajo and everything else. It's sort of related to Israel, but you ask yourself now, how are these correlations? Look at the dance. I mean, those today can't dance worth nothing, but if you look at the African tribes versus even Israel, they danced around. Back in the day, if you really read how when they got delivered, how Miriam, she took up that trample and she sung the song that Moses had sang to him, and they just danced around, praising Yahweh for deliverance from the Egyptians. But in all words, honor your father and your mother. Some of you have been separated from a long time. Some of you really don't care for your fathers. That's more so than the mother. You don't care for him, but still, he's still your father. Not only your father that your mother had separated from, but also your father that that's with you, because he was separated from someone too eventually. You have to love your parents, grandparents. Get on your mother or father. Isn't that your parents? And doesn't the Bible say honor your mother and father? Then you speak to them, not arguing with them, but as in treating them humbly, as you would a person of authority. And your father and mother should be people of authority in your life. Now, some things they could say that's wrong and not according to the word of God, you still would not argue with them, but treat them humbly, with respect as an authority figure. not as you are their equal, because you are not, because you came from them, or you potentially would have came from them. So you would honor them, but follow peace with all men. Shalom.